So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Well, listen here.
Hello, and welcome to 90 Day Fiancé MK Classic Edition. I'm Mr. O, and today, Miss H and I will be discussing Season 1, Episodes 13 and the tell-all of Before the 90 Days, Season 1. In this episode, Paul and Larry both manage to lock things down. Courtney says goodbye to Antonio with their future still in doubt. Sean is continuously not happy about the situation, but persists anyway. Miriam makes the case that Patrick is a terrible signal reader, and Darcey and Jesse are not entirely clear about what's going on with them at all. Since it's the end of the season, we'll close out with our power rankings of the main cast. If you like what you hear, please support us by subscribing and leaving a 5-star rating. While we cover these classic episodes, we'll also be covering the current season every Monday. We'll be taking a break from our classic episodes for a while, since Love After Lockup starts again next month. We'll be covering that on our other channel, Love After Lockup MK. Alright, thanks for listening, stay safe, and enjoy.
Hello, Mr. O.
Hello, Miss H.
Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Oh, yay. I got a bag of chips yesterday, which is more than I get. Which is more than I get most years. Most years it's just an email.
Oh, this is about the time of year that I get bribes in the guise of Teacher Appreciation Week.
I mean, my seniors are done next week, so they would really need to get it in. But mine don't even try that. But we've talked about it. I have way too many students that are just like, whatever, I failed. Moving on.
Okay, well, we appreciate you, and that's all that matters.
Yes, you too.
All right, so we had one episode left, episode 13, and a 2-hour tell-all. So we're covering it all today for our Before the 90 Days Season 1. So let me go ahead and get started with Patrick and Miriam. So Miriam is on video, and Sean senses that, her and Patrick are still very friendly. Miriam says that she hopes to visit Patrick in the U.S. at some point. Patrick says, out of respect for her boyfriend, he won't say too much, but then tells us that he feels like Miriam had some feelings for him as well. They replay Patrick's sadness, and Miriam feels bad, like she wants to cry, because she feels like Patrick is telling her everything she wanted to hear from her boyfriend. Miriam says that she was just flirting. Patrick says that they have a connection, and how can she even deny that? Miriam tells him that he's firmly in the friend zone. Letty, Patrick's mom, gets on the call, and she starts off by saying that karma is a bitch. Letty and Miriam immediately start arguing, and Patrick says that Letty needs to back off because they didn't come here to do this. Letty says that Miriam's biggest mistake was going online in the first place, considering she had a boyfriend. Patrick says that he respects his mom, but he realizes that maybe he made assumptions, and he's learned some things from being there today. Miriam defends herself and says she was always being honest with him, and it's better than faking that she was into him. She also says he should have told his mother the truth, that Miriam thought that they were just friends. Patrick says that Letty will actually really like Miriam when she visits, and Letty says that she doesn't care because Miriam is insignificant. All right, so they kind of made it seem that Miriam clearly thought that Patrick and her were just friends, so it didn't make a difference if, she had a boyfriend. She told him she had a boyfriend or whatever, and Patrick just kind of made up this romance in his head. So do you think that Patrick had a clear understanding of how Miriam saw the relationship before he visited?
I don't know. I actually kind of really bought Miriam's story. It made a lot of sense to me. To be like, why would you let him over if he had a boyfriend? Because, my friend said he was coming to France, and I was like, oh, we'll come to France, we'll hang out, right? That's not a completely appropriate thing. Oh, I'm going to come out there. And he was like, oh, great, we'll hang out, I'll show you around. That's a normal friend thing. And then he gets there and is like, hey, we're going to do this. And she's like,
what are you talking about?
And I think it actually happened before that. I think it happened maybe a few days before or slightly after he bought the tickets, that he kind of really made clear that, oh, we're coming over there to get into a relationship. And she was like, what?
This is uncomfortable.
This is not what I thought we were doing.
Right.
And so, I think he just read, and I could see it because I could see when the last episode we saw him, she said something like, oh, had a great time, miss you. And he was like, see, totally into me. And it's like,
Yeah.
is that what that means?
I think you're reading too much into that. That's a bit of a reach there. You can miss your friends.
Yeah, totally. And so,
Yeah.
I because of that, like, one instance, which is really the only thing we really saw them say to each other, in the messages, that I was like, I could totally see him reading way too into basically everything she ever said.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that too. And then Letty, I mean, I get it. That's your son. You're trying to defend him, but she just came out swinging and, Patrick even had to be like, Mom, chill out.
Patrick is rein it in, lady. Come on. Like, because, okay, so you see one of the worst things I dislike from people, and especially people who are older, there's a double thing, is she came out and she was just yelling the entire time, right? Right. It was like, what do you think, Letty? She was like, Karma's a bitch. It's like, well, okay, you came out yelling, right?
Yes.
And like, as soon as Miriam was like, hey, she was like, don't you raise your voice to me. And I was like, no, you've already instituted the voice raising. You can't yell at someone and then tell them they can't yell back. And she was like, I'm not your mama. You respect me. I was like, no, don't pull the respect your elders card when you're just screaming at this poor girl and she raises her voice to defend herself. Get out of here.
I mean, I think Patrick is so respectful towards his mom too. It very much like, oh, he was raised good. But then Letty, you kind of wonder, was he raised good? Because Letty kind of flew off the handle and got crazy there.
I'm sure more people help raise him than Letty. It takes a village.
Well, good for them then. Yeah, but they weren't in the episode, so this was all just from the tell-all.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. So I was because they were not in the episode. They were so short. This is a good time to mention it. The tell-all format is way different than it is these days.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Which I have to say that I appreciate because, well, as someone who's covering this show, I very much appreciate it because it's very compartmentalized. But then we don't get the craziness of like, y'all aren't judging each other.
Right. And I do need somebody to kind of step in and like, not, we always get the people who get way too out of their lane. And it's like, you talk to everybody's segment. You get to like say one thing per segment. That's it. That's all you get. But like a lot of the, what I'm missing is some of the looks even, right? When they kind of pan around and somebody says something nuts and they're all like, the reaction shots and them being like, wait, you did what? Like,
the one thing I will say I appreciate is at times I think that the other cast members will ask the questions that is probably on the average person's mind as a reaction to what it is. And so they might ask something like that isn't like this rehearsed, planned question from the host.
Right. And something, it does make it a little more spontaneous. I feel like, I almost feel like in these ones, they already know what the questions are. Like they've been briefed and like they can prepare it and they don't have the coming out of like, why would you get down on one knee to give her a promise ring? What's wrong with you, dude? Are you sure? Like,
yeah, at the same time, it probably prevents them from having, like, what was it, some absurd amount, like 12 hours of raw footage.
Oh, my God. I mean, it does stop that because we'll bring this couple on and we'll take this couple off and we'll bring this one on and this one on and then we'll put this one on. Because when they had the 10-hour raw footage thing, it was just like, it was never everybody, because at least the newer tell-all was everybody. The most recent tell-all was everybody was on the stage the whole time. It would just be like randomly like, here's this couple and Big Ed and somebody from another couple. Like, okay. Like,
okay, you're like, they have nothing in common, but all right, let's do every permutation of this group.
That's basically what they did. Yeah. All right. So let me hit mine, which is the other. I don't know. The other one I thought was pretty boring, to be honest, and that's Larry and Jenny.
Yeah. Gosh, yes.
So after all the problems during this trip, Larry is confident that he and Jenny can work through anything because they worked through those problems. Plus, she's a 10 and he's like a 5, so he's got to cash in this lotto ticket right now, and he's going to ask her to marry him. So he scouted locations around and found a park in Manila that's pretty, full of famous dead people, and a place Jenny always wanted to visit. So they visit the grave of Jose Rizal, who was a Filipino revolutionary during the Spanish colonial period. And a national hero that Jenny is like, you've never heard of this guy? Are you serious? To Larry. Larry reminds us that this would be his third marriage, and he's not planning on doing this ever again. But anyway, this is the moment. He hands her the umbrella so that he can get down on his knee and propose. It seems really awkward because he doesn't know what to do with the ring. He keeps reaching into the box and trying to hold it up with his other hand. And of course, she hesitates for awkwardly long before finally saying, yeah. Anyway, Larry says that he's always failed in love, but now he's won and has a girl of his dreams. Now he just needs to get her to America where he lives. Then in the tell-all, Sean starts by asking Larry how he's been. How have things been going so far? He says that they video chat for more than 3 hours a day, including when Larry's at work. And he outwardly faces his phone in his pocket while he's serving McDonald's people, which is
weird.
Yeah, I would.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Plus, why would you want to watch that? That makes no sense to me.
I don't know. Anyway, they bring Jenny on via video chat because she's not in the States, and then show us a new scene of when they said goodbye to each other. Nothing really notable happens in the clip, but they both talk a bit about how hard this is and how much they miss each other. And of course, we recap their whole story with a clip montage. Sean focuses in on the conversations they had with Larry's cousin, who Larry was like, oh no, he just got in my head, and he made him think about things he otherwise wouldn't. Then they get into the details about her Filipino Cupid account and how Larry says Larry deleted his, but Jenny says she can't delete hers because there are technical issues. But he trusts her 100% on the issue. Next, they focus in on Larry not eating the pig. And Larry says, if it was the same situation again, he'd definitely eat it knowing, how it would turn out. But otherwise, yeah, he wouldn't be into it. Even though, Jenny promised next time, instead of a pig, it's going to be a goat.
Okay.
So Larry says all the K1 paperwork is all filled out, and now they're just waiting. And like I said, that was it. A pretty uneventful segment. All right. So, going way back to the beginning, 10 and 5. I guess you agree if you think you're well outclassed in the relationship, is locking it down the way to go?
It depends on where this score is coming from, because I think there's more to it than just looks. And if you were to say 5 and 10 just based on physical attractiveness, maybe, I probably give her a 9. I feel like maybe there could be something better out there. So I don't want to quite put her at a 10, but but and I wouldn't even say he's that unfortunate looking. But if you're looking at the complete package, I think they would be closer together than he really thinks.
Sure.
And locking it down just based on looks just seems like a recipe for disaster, because those are the kinds of people that marry people that, that they don't really know the other person too well. And then there's things that come out that, they're not super happy with, or maybe it's just not compatible for them because they're trying to lock it down like, oh, I wouldn't want this person to get away.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know. It just seems to me if you're worried about this person getting away, then wouldn't you also be worried about that person, still leaving you after you locked it down?
Sure.
If you're this person's going to trade up, but if I give them this ring, they won't be able to trade up anymore. It's I still think they can trade up. That's still going to be in the cards for you.
Yeah, but we've already seen, based on the beginning, Larry is definitely part of the Brett and Daya group, where he somehow thinks that if he locks it down with the Filipino, that it's for Filipino, life.
That is, that's done. That's locked down, which I thought was funny because he finally said, I never wanted love before. Dude, you've been married twice.
That was kind of winning.
You literally have already done this thing where a woman agreed to marry you. You've done it twice already. That doesn't... And
if you consider that a loss, technically, this could still be a loss at some point, right?
Exactly. Totally.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. All right. Speaking of loss, I guess, let's talk Darcey and Jesse, which there was a lot with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still in the last episode here. Darcey is packing up to leave. She misses her girls, but she also doesn't want to leave her love behind. Jesse was in the military for 2 years, so he gives her his military jacket with his name sewn on it. He says it's a significant gift for him. Darcey hopes that she will be able to marry him soon. Jesse reminisces on how she came in with all her junk, and how it was a challenge to get used to her since they are complete opposites. He says he will miss her. Darcey feels like Jesse had a wall up when she first got there, and now he's opened up, which makes her feel so lucky. She drops another hint that one day she wants to take his name and get a commitment ring. Jesse and Darcey hug each other and cry. Jesse tells us that he will only get married once, so he would rather take some time to get to know that person before he makes any big decisions. Darcey ugly cries and says she doesn't want to go. She asks him if he loves her, and he says of course, and they will see each other again. Darcey fears that the distance will make the love fade away, but she does feel in her gut that he wants to be her husband, so only time will tell how this will end up. The producers ask Jesse what the engagement timeline is. Jesse says the only time frame is the heart, and only his will be able to tell him when the right time is. Okay, so at the tell-all, Darcey has had a glow-up. She's lost some weight, and she now has blonde extensions. Darcey says that she knew that Jesse was her soulmate before she even met him. She says it's been harder to take direction with someone, which has been a challenge since Jesse is an alpha male. Darcey says there are topics and issues they are still working through. Darcey has some insecure thoughts like Jesse may leave her for a younger woman, but she chooses to focus on the positive and visualize their future. We get a clip of Darcey with her daughter showing off her appreciation ring and telling them that they aren't engaged. She video calls Jesse, and Jesse tells her that if it's financially not possible for them to see each other, then love will prevail, whatever that means. Darcey is trying to nail down details of when they'll see each other again, and Jesse is kind of annoyed that she continues to ask. He says he's working and has school, so it might be a year until they see each other. Darcey says it's hard to watch herself because she's really not dependent or needy as the cameras have portrayed. Sean then acts like Darcey didn't know Jesse was backstage. Sean being the host, by the way. Jesse is there for 10 days and will be staying with Darcey. They watch more clips, and Darcey admits that she thought the appreciation ring was a proposal, but then says that she would never actually expect a proposal. Sean asks why Jesse seems so skittish when the topic gets brought up. Jesse says he doesn't think Darcey and him are on the same page as to what marriage means. He wants to focus on working through their problems right now, which is something that got bleeped out, and he says that he didn't like fake, and he will shine that back on you. So here's where
it was bullshit. It was bullshit.
Okay, because I was just like, what? I thought that's what he said, but then they kept on bleeping out the same thing, and I'm just like, is this some kind of weird mystery topic we don't know about?
Yes.
Mystery issue?
Right, like something, yeah. I don't like her, yeah.
Her beep. I was like,
yeah, that's
what
like,
don't you like? What don't you like?
That's been beeped out for national security reasons. We can't say that, yeah.
Right. So after they watch the clip of the big argument over Darcey drinking with his mom, Jesse says the video shows enough, and Darcey says that she's not an alcoholic and she doesn't really need alcohol. It comes out that Darcey went to LA with her sister and they had a couple glasses of wine there, but she says it's no big deal. Jesse challenges her and says, "You handled it?" He said he wouldn't get mad at her drinking if she was actually handling it. Darcey says that she doesn't lie. Jesse says he gave her another chance, and if she's going to sit there and lie and be delusional, he's out. Sean awkwardly sits there, and Jesse says he needs to take a break. Darcey insists she wasn't lying just right now, and Jesse says if she wants a marriage with him and wants a life with him, then quit the bullshit. He says he loves her to death, but doesn't want that in his life. Sean finally speaks and asks her about what issues she has with Jesse. Darcey says he thinks she's a liability, and she feels like he's stepping on her and not opening up to her. Jesse says he is open and receptive to her, but he wants her to know that he can't deal with it. Darcey wants Jesse to apologize for demeaning her and the words and the way he treats her. Jesse says he has apologized for calling her a bitch, and he says it's not okay for him, and he's tried to make amends. Darcey says that it's been more than one time, and Jesse admits to saying it twice, and Darcey starts to cry. Jesse tries to console her and tells her that he's trying to open his heart and show her that he loves her. Darcey thinks that everything is chipping away at her self-esteem, and she says that even though he says he's sorry, that there are things that he can't take back. Jesse musters up some tears, and Darcey thinks that he can fix that, and Jesse agrees as he kisses her. Sean observes there are moments of love and moments of hate between them. Jesse says that they are on the same page, but he feels like if he ever makes a mistake, that she just throws it in his face later. Darcey says she's just defending herself from being attacked. They prove Sean's point by immediately bickering again. Darcey says this is the same type of argument they keep on having. Jessie says she just ruined the relationship and he's done. And Sean decides to cut it off right then by saying goodnight. After they cut, Darcey says she's cold, and Jessie takes her hand and says that she can have his jacket. Because there was an abrupt end, they are then asked backstage how they think the interview went. Darcey says she's sensing something right now, so she's just going to feel her feelings. Jessie just kind of quietly stares down the producer and the cameraman. Do you think they're faking it for this next season? Because I'm so confused. Like, Sean wasn't wrong. They were hot and cold, even in this interview.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's funny because all the amount of time he rails about her being drunk and stuff, it was definitely like arguing with a drunk person. Like, you're angry and now you're crying, and now you're like playing and now you're crying again. I can't follow this lot. I can't follow what's going on at all.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
it was a lot.
So yeah, because both of them have this tendency whenever things start going a little bit better to kind of need to get in a dig, right? Like, it's so much better. Let's have a hug. Okay, let's have a hug. I wish you did this more. Like, okay, well, now why'd you have to do that? Like, both of them do the same kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so it was, I was very confused how he's like, you ruined this relationship. Camera cuts. Okay, let's take hands and walk off stage together. And I was like,
I'm going to offer you my jacket. And I was like, but I thought you just said the relationship is over. But then it was like he was trying to like portray himself like he's a gentleman. And I was just confused by this whole thing.
Very confused. Like, that was, it's just so, and that's part of what, I don't know, that's part of what, I mean, I think what people don't like about Jesse, and when people don't like Jesse, it's definitely a person that like you liked having him on the show because he's such a douche and he's really easy to laugh at douche wise, right? But he's like, not a good person to hang out with or be with at all because he does it's that instability that somebody gives you, right? And that's it's also his way of kind of keeping you around and keeping you on the hook is by always keeping you off balance. Right. And always keeping you like wanting more from him. And what do I get from him? And like, like you can see how she's doing it. Everything she does is like a reaction. Well, how is he going to react to this? Like, and it's unpredictable how he's going to react to this. And that is very disorienting. And it's certainly a way that it's a, way that people control other people.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, but as much as Jesse, as you say, he's a douche, like it's hard for me, and I think we'll talk about it more when we get to our power rankings. Like, this season, I have very mixed feelings about him. Like, I know there are, like, some obvious things that make him douchey, but overall, like, I don't know. Like, how else are you going to handle Darcey in this situation?
Okay, but I'm not talking about him and the way he handles Darcey. I'm talking about him and his general demeanor. Anybody who self-describes themselves, I'm an alpha male, makes me make the wanking motion.
Oh,
like,
God, yes.
Right? Like, I'm an alpha male. I'm like, okay, go do whatever, alpha male. I'm done listening to you already, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing, his weird ass decor, like his weird, and even some of the way he talks, like, oh, do you have a time frame? He's like, I really appreciate that some other people that aren't, me, or have my fortitude might have a time frame. However, love in the heart is the only time frame that I, as a amazing person, will listen to.
You're giving me like flashbacks of Andrew right now from Andrew and Amira.
He's not totally different than Andrew. Andrew's just more like.
It's more noticeable because English is Andrew's native language.
Yeah, and he just more of an incel type of person. Whereas, like, I don't know. But Jesse at least doesn't have like the incel vibes going for him, but still the definitely misogynistic vibes. Definitely, I'm going to just try to exude confidence as much as I possibly can whenever I am, wherever I am. That kind of makes me just be like, I think you're putting on an act, buddy.
Yeah.
And his haircut is stupid. Ugh.
Well, yeah, the one on the tell-all where it
was like all down his face. So bad.
It was very like Kurt Cobain, that 90s grunge. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's he always has the undercut, right? But that stringy, like really long, but
in the front, yeah.
But it was like doing that without being, that Kurt Cobain kind of grunge thing doesn't really go with the look of, dapper, sophisticated suit.
Right.
Yeah.
He's wearing a suit. Yeah.
All right. So next up, let's hit Paul and Karine. So we pick right where we left off. Paul is stranded on his knee. This is in the episode, proposing to Karine, and she isn't saying anything beside, oh my God. It goes on for uncomfortably long. And as we saw last week, he stops and takes it out of the box and tries to put it on her finger, and it's awkward. She eventually jokes no, and he's like, no, before finally saying, yes, of course, you dummy. Anyway, she puts the ring on, and he swats a mosquito, gives her a hug, and swings her around the inside the giant chain heart that he had proposed in, which he now realizes is pretty ironic. Anyway, Karine says she was speechless because, just a few days ago, Paul was ready to break up, and now here he is proposing. He says that she loves him like no one else. Well, except for his mother. She loves him like a disturbing amount too. Karine says she loves Paul despite all his flaws, and now she's worried because he has to leave, and she's afraid he's never going to come back. On Paul's last day in Brazil, they share a coconut and have some translator app time by the pool. Karine asks if, when he comes back to Brazil, they can get married. Paul says that for the K1 to work, they have to have a legally binding ceremony in the States, although they could have a religious ceremony in Brazil. She makes him make one promise before he goes, and that is that he will return to Brazil. He says, of course, I'll come back. I love it here. So anyway, then we have Paul getting ready to leave. And his way of saying that he intends to come back is by leaving most of his junk there. He's down from 4 to 1 Foot Lockers on his way to the airport. And as soon as they get in the car to the airport, the tears begin. That is until he offers to give him some of his hair, like his weird mom did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
He starts to pull it out of his head, and she keeps trying to stop him. Then he plucks one of her hairs when she's not looking, all around just weirdness. Anyway, they do say their final goodbye. When they start getting to the airport, they say a few different goodbyes. This is like the ending of Return of the King, I swear. Paul makes they start crying. Paul makes some very unfortunate crying faces. And Karine tells him that she's scared he will abandon her, which leads to more ugly crying. Eventually, he goes to the gates and then doubles back one more time to kiss her. At the tell-all, Paul couldn't make it, so he FaceTimed in at the tell-all. He readily admits that he is a germaphobe, especially when it comes to the Amazon. Then they surprise us by showing us that the reason he isn't there is because actually he's in Brazil, and they pan over to show us he's there with Karine. They bring in an interpreter, which is much more efficient than the translator app, so we can use a person instead of the app, which naturally leads to a discussion about the language barrier between them, and a recap of him making, the sex hand gesture to Karine's dad. But Karine says that the communication is getting better due mainly to their use of, they say gestures, but it sounds like made-up sign language that they put together for themselves. They then move on to the whole thing where Paul ran away into the woods, but before they can ask questions about it, he runs away from the interview. Anyway, he does come back, and Sean finds a diplomatic way to ask Paul, what the fuck, man? He says he was just emotional and it was hard. Karine thought he was just being dramatic and infantile, which even Paul can't disagree with. They move quickly through topics and move on to the STD/pregnancy test that Paul wanted her to take. She was disappointed, but she also got him back. When he came back to Brazil, he had to have a test. She says he didn't show her the results, but he says they did and they were all negative. Anyway, they ask what the living situation will be, and he hopes that one day they'll be able to get dual citizenship and split time between the two countries. Okay, so what's the best way? Because we saw another one. You're going to get to another one. People did a different way. What's the best way to say goodbye at the airport? Or should it even be at the airport? Because this one took forever.
Yeah, I think rip off the Band-Aid, say goodbye, and that be it. I don't, like you said, we'll talk about Courtney and Antonio. In the cab, I feel is a little impersonal, but I also think that it depends on the actual situation. How difficult is it for one person to get to the airport and then have to get back?
Sure.
Especially for Karine. I don't think she lives all that close to the airport.
Well, no, because she's got to get back on her, 5-day boat trip up the Amazon to get to her village,
she have to
right?
Grab all the stupid Foot Lockers, and does she have to handle all that luggage too?
Yeah, did he leave the Foot Lockers in my house, or did he leave some in her house? I don't know. But yeah, he just left a bunch of crap there, which, I mean, I get what he was going for, but it seems like, oh, I'm romantic and want to make a big gesture for you.
No,
take care
I'm
of my
just like,
shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you seem like a lazy guy who's just like, hey, watch my shit while I'll be back. You know, it's like that
but he
guy.
found a way to rationalize that in his head about how it was actually romantic, that he was like, watch my shit while I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back in a little bit.
Yeah, nobody wants that. Right.
Nobody wants that.
Karine, I think, would conveniently lose the things that are super unattractive, like the human body condom and the life vest.
What about the cooling bonnet that he had?
Yes.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah. So things like that, I think, might accidentally just get left behind.
And might get thrown in the Amazon River. Like, sorry, it fell in the river. I can't help you.
Right. But I agree that it just dragged on too long. And at some point you do have to say goodbye, because it's just... I mean,
some of it's weird because they had a good... Because part of it depends on the layout of the airport too, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's one of those things that's nice when you go through a corner and you just turn a corner and you can't see them anymore and they're gone. And that makes it Band-Aid-like, right?
Yes.
But if it's something like, I'm sure you've been through it, like Singapore's airport, right? Where they have security at every gate, right? And you kind of sit there and they walk through security, but you can still see them sitting at the gate watching. It's kind of like you could it's that whole part where you have I watched them walk away and there they go. That makes it even more awkward, which is why I think the cab thing was awkward. But it's just like that. I like that you go through this double doors, they shut, and it's done. That's it.
Right.
You said goodbye now.
Yeah. Going back to the proposal, why in the world did Karine say yes? It was she did seem genuinely happy when she said yes. But I swear that's the happiest we've seen her this entire season, by a long shot.
I would also say she was very happy when she first saw Paul. That was also good. She was pretty happy there. I don't know. I can't shake the feeling that she's more interested in being married than who she's married to.
Interesting thought. I do think that she likes the idea of being married to Paul, because how she even frames it is that he's very exotic looking for, where she is. And I think she likes the fact that he's American. I think she likes the fact that, he speaks English and can provide these things for her. I think she likes all the ideas of him, but she doesn't actually like him.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, and I think she finds him attractive enough.
I think she does.
Which is, not okay, but
when he's not in his goofy outfits, his get-ups.
Yeah, the goofy get-ups. I mean, he doesn't look good. He doesn't look good when he sweats. I mean, he just has he has a lot of issues there.
He looked a lot better with his short hair when he was with her.
Yes. Well, I mean, he definitely has that really dopey kind of wavy hair that just looks it's better short. It would probably be okay if he could grow long hair. Not that I could see him doing that, but it's that in between medium thing where you get to be about 5-6 inches long. That it's this is weird. Let's tighten that up a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of goodbyes and tight hair, let's talk about Courtney and Antonio.
Very tight hair.
It's Courtney's last week in Spain, and reflecting on her time in Spain, Courtney says that they have had their fair shares of ups and downs. She feels very strongly about Antonio. Antonio says they lost a lot of days fighting, and he doesn't want to be fighting for nothing, and he wants to make up for lost time. Courtney woke up the night before at 5 a.m. just crying, which woke him up. She cried because she feels very strongly for him, but she's having a hard time expressing it to him. Antonio just tells her to be more warm. She wonders if it's because she's scared she'll never see him again. He wants her to relax and just have a good time. He says he will miss Courtney, but he'll just not think about it. Antonio is a guy who lives in the present, so he wants to enjoy his time and not worry about the future. Courtney thinks things are going so much better, and she wished that happened sooner. It's Courtney's last day, and they're both exhausted. Courtney says the 3 weeks have felt like 3 years. Antonio doesn't like to see Courtney upset, so he keeps telling her not to be sad. They'll see each other again. He has told her he doesn't want her to date other people, but Courtney wonders if it's realistic of Antonio to stay faithful to her. As Courtney cries, Antonio tells her he doesn't think it's a good idea that he goes to the airport. Antonio is also upset, and he's not sure if it's love or something else. You don't know. He thinks the distance is going to be very difficult. Courtney hopes the distance will allow him to sort out his feelings. Antonio says goodbye to her as she rides off in a taxi. Courtney is sobbing, and she realizes that she may be in love. If this was for nothing, she would rather it not have happened. At the tell-all, Antonio shows up over video and tells Courtney she's beautiful. They tell us that they text all day long, and Antonio says that he misses her. Courtney tells us that men have stolen her pictures to catfish other men, and Antonio has also had his photos stolen for the same reason. Courtney reveals that there were moments she wanted to leave, but she stuck it out because she had gone all that way. Courtney tells us that the night of the pageant, they didn't get back until 4 a.m., and Antonio thought he was still going to get lucky because his friend told him American girls are fast. Courtney was shocked at how flirtatious women were in Spain, and boldly asking for Antonio's number in front of her. They show a clip of Courtney asking Antonio about cheating, and he manages to evade the question, which Sean picks up on immediately. Antonio admits to pretending he doesn't know what she's talking about when he doesn't want to answer. Antonio says that they are exclusive because he spends all his time talking to her. Courtney says she's at the point where she can trust him. She says that the next step is going back to Spain, learning some Spanish, then possibly traveling the world with him. Sean asks if marriage is in the future for Antonio, and Antonio says it's the time since his hair is getting gray. All right, so do you really think that Antonio is ready to settle down?
No.
According to his hair, he is.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. The hair, I mean, is it just thinking, oh shit, I have gray hair. I might not be able to get as many women. I gotta get one of them down so I can have, easy access to sex all the time.
Yes, that was what I was assuming he was meaning by all of that.
Yeah, that's a lot to say that. But yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. I think he likes his alone time. Like, I think he's definitely the kind of person that he seems like the kind of person, especially with his tiny apartment, that would sleep with somebody and be like, so,
when are you leaving? Well, I mean, that's what I was going to point out, the fact that he's in that tiny apartment. Maybe he would feel a little bit differently, like partnering up with someone if they had more space. Because I absolutely agree that to be in each other's face all the time like that would be difficult with anyone, two people. I mean, it's nice to even just have a break, like, oh, I'm in the room reading and you're in the living room doing something else, like just even having a little bit of space between the two of you. I mean, they were literally on top of each other in that apartment.
Yeah, like one was in the bed and one was on the desk underneath the bed, like on top of each other.
That's what I meant by literally on top. Oh, yeah, I didn't mean that they were having sex the whole time.
No, I mean, that would have been, I don't know. That kind of feels like with the disappointing part. I guess Courtney was kind of did. Well, I wish it would have never happened if it wasn't going to work out and stuff. And it was like, you could have had, I don't know, you could have had a fun vacation where you just got to have sex a lot. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, not that but she didn't want that. But you know what I'm saying is like that. It just because it's temporary doesn't mean it has to be like, well, not even worth doing anymore, right? And I feel like part of the reason she didn't enjoy the trip is she couldn't, for whatever reason, enjoy it for what it was. And I think that's what Antonio was trying to get at. They just wanted different things out of it.
Sure. I think her point, though, is that the amount of hurt and, she also seems like the kind of person who takes a long time to get over someone. Sure. So, she's getting over this guy for let's say months. Is that worth the 3 weeks that you were hanging out with someone? Of just being in deep depression for months, So I can kind of see how it might just not have been worth it at all. But then at the same time, no one knows if it's going to work out or not. So to have that kind of mentality, oh, well, only if it turns out well do I want it to happen, is well, you can't say that.
Then you can never do anything. Right. You can never do anything. But I just think that a lot of the hurt just came from her having her expectations of it going in. Are part of the reason it hurts so much, right?
Sure.
Because it's I don't know. I mean, he just doesn't seem like I just don't know where at any point he came across as a guy that was ready to settle down and become a long-term thing. At what point, where did she get this impression? Because it seemed super obvious that was not what he is. He's literally a model. Yeah. I mean, I've never had anybody just voluntarily give me their go for the phone number. So that is a little bit different.
Well, I know that's ridiculous. I was going to say that she said at the beginning that he was talking to her about marriage and kids. And, it's one of those things where if that's what you really want, that's what you're going to hold on to, right?
Sure.
You're going to remember that person said that. And anytime things are bad, it's like, that's what you use to justify anything. It's like, oh, well, yeah, he was flirting with that waitress, but he talked to me about marriage and kids. So he must be serious about me.
Yeah, this one also seems, I mean, it's the flip side, very similar to the Miriam and Patrick thing, right? It's like, well, how much, I'm very curious as to what he was saying. How much was he saying to be like, listen, I would love for this woman to come over here and I could get in her pants and we could just bang for 3 weeks. That would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
I could see him doing that and being like, so I'll just say whatever's going to make that happen. Like, I could see that, right? I could also see him making a few offhanded comments or saying things like, oh, I would like to have kids someday, where she's like reading more into that than he was intending.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one it is.
Sure. All right, to last up.
Last up is Sean and Abby.
God.
All right. We had both episode and a decent amount of tell-all stuff. Anyway, Sean is back in Ohio. He's moving materials around his work-in-progress house. He says he's been back for about a month. He reminds us what we knew about the situation after last week. He's not interested in getting engaged to Abby if she's still involved with Chris, and she promised to make that happen for him. He really doesn't trust her, though, and wants to see the situation for himself, so he's on his way back to Haiti. His gut feeling is uneasy about the situation, but he feels like she at least deserves the opportunity to show him. They both say things are different, or whatever, more real this time, because it's not the first time they've met. He's also keeping their little business venture going and brings her 5 bags worth of clothes to sell. They sit on the couch and make lovey eyes at each other, and in an interview, Abby tells us that she wants to be with Sean, but notably can't seem to look directly at the camera when she's saying that.
God, I know, right?
Anyway, in an interview, Sean says that he may propose if Abby is back to being completely honest. But if he feels like he's being lied to and screwed over, then good luck. They only showed that like 50 times in all the previews.
Yeah, right.
Okay, at a restaurant, they talk things over, and he wants to make sure they are on the same page and that Chris is out of the picture for good. Abby tells us that her relationship with Chris had changed for the sake of Sean. So she tells Sean that she ended her friendship with Chris, but she plans on still doing business with him because she does the same clothing selling thing that she does with Sean. Sean is confused about what she's talking about, which, he had, like I said, she had the same business relationship with Chris that she had with Sean. He brings her clothes to resell so she can make money. Sean wonders, why do you want to continue this business relationship? There's, nothing that you're getting out of him that we can't do together. But she says, I'm continuing to do business with him because I want to. And this whole thing isn't really about her business. It's about his insecurities. But Sean doesn't want to be the jealous boyfriend. So as long as she stays faithful, which, she gets her to the point of giggling. Anyway, at this point, he says he's more seriously considering proposing, but it doesn't seem likely that she is quite ready for that yet. At the tell-all, Sean tells us how difficult it is to continue this long-distance thing without having a human connection before they bring Abby on via video chat. Abby isn't in Haiti anymore. She temporarily has moved to the DR. Host Sean brings up the age difference, and they give, this kind of standard answers. Well, it works for us. I'm an old soul, etc., etc. When we get a few more details about why things didn't work with Chris before she met with Sean. Mainly because Chris already had a partner. So after a recap of all these Chris-related scenes, Abby breaks down crying and apologizes. Sean says that if he ever sees Chris again, he's going to punch that motherfucker in the face. Abby says that now she realizes that Chris was just using her like Sean has always said. Host Sean asks what Chris meant by best behavior. And Abby says that Chris likes to make off-color jokes and make sexy comments all the time. Host Sean wants to clarify one of Cast Sean's comments. Does Abby feel like she was being used as a sex toy? She says, maybe, and acknowledges that Chris was giving her money during the entirety of the filming. But she stopped accepting money from Chris a few months ago. But after a few clarifications, we find out that Abby is currently doing her video call from Chris's condo in the DR.
This makes no damn sense.
Chris is not there, so Sean says, I can deal with that, but I'm not happy about it. Abby reads the last communication she had with Chris, which was about him changing the Netflix password because she disrespected him. And it says that she can't use the condo anymore either. Abby promises that once she leaves the condo this time, her relationship with Chris will be 100% done. Then they show us a new scene that we hadn't seen before, when Sean proposed at the end of his second trip to Haiti.
Ugh.
So apparently, they're engaged. All right, so a lot of things happen, and the first thing that got my attention, and I wanted to ask a question about, if Sean punched Chris in the face, right, punched that motherfucker in the face, who's winning that fight?
I don't know. Chris has got height on him.
Mm-hmm. I think Chris beats the shit out of him. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sean has anger on his side, and I feel like that always kind of gives you that weird, like, X Factor edge. You don't quite know how it's going to work out. But yeah, Chris is a bigger guy.
He's just bigger, right? He's just bigger, and I would guess that Chris has been in more fights than Sean. Because you say that, and you have anger, and you have things, but sometimes it just becomes very clear very early on in a fight. It was like, oh, wait, that guy's been in fights before, and that guy has not.
Right.
I know who's winning this fight now.
Yeah. Okay, so Abby sucks because she, makes it sound like it's her decision. Like, I'm not accepting money from Chris anymore. It's like, girl, you just read. He's straight up not giving. He has cut you off. This is not by your choice. Right.
She definitely tries to say, well, I left that job. Like, you were fired. Don't. That's not.
I know, right? It's like, oh my gosh, that's the only reason. And if he didn't feel disrespected in whatever way that, the Netflix password, I'm like confused if that was like the source of their problems or just like.
I think he changed. I think she did something that he felt was disrespectful. So
then he changed the password.
And then he changed the password. And then when she texted to be like, did you change the network password? He's like, you're goddamn right I did.
And get out of my house. And it's like, okay, but it also sounds like she's living there like for the not too long. Like she said, oh, I'll be here for a few more weeks. But it's like, to me, it's like, how mad are you that it's like, oh, well, you can still stay there for a few more weeks.
Right. It would be, get out now.
Now?
And it might have,
get out now.
Now. I'm going to have my neighbor check, and I'll call the police if you're not gone tomorrow. So now is good.
Okay, the other thing that I'm confused with all these business ventures, is she actually paying these guys back for the clothes that they're buying? Like, they talk about it like it's a business deal, but to be honest, it just kind of sounds like they're gifting her a shit ton of clothes and she's selling them and keeping 100% of, what she sells them for.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It doesn't sound like she's putting any money up, and it doesn't sound like they're getting any money back. They're calling that business.
A business. It's not a business. Like, I don't know what you call that.
Why don't you just take the money you bought the clothes for and just give it to her?
Exactly.
Just give her the money.
But does she feel like maybe that
she feels like this way I'm working for money, I'm earning it?
Yeah. And it's not like prostitution. Maybe she makes her feel less prostitute-y.
Okay, I guess. But it's like, I guess it's not a straight up cash transaction. Especially part of the reason to do that is if she continues doing this relationship with somebody she's not, sexually involved with, then how is it prostitution? I do this with people I don't sleep with too. It's not like it's not like an exchange for sex.
Let's be real here. She's sleeping with everyone.
That's probably true. Yeah. Chris's partner though, that's fun. Like, I don't understand. He can't have a real marriage. Do you think he has like one of those like marriages where they're married in paper but like not really? Because otherwise, who can go to the DR for like 4 months a year?
That's exactly what I was thinking. He's gone to the DR quite a bit. Like, but then again, I could see him being like, oh, well, honey, I have a business down there. I resell clothes.
Oh yeah, sure. I got to go down there. But like, even if but And then he wouldn't agree to be filmed then, like on his.
No,
let me go down there and give you on this reality show with my mistress that my wife might see, like whatever. Like it's all very sketchy, very very sketchy.
Yes. Oh well, everything about all of them is really sketchy, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Which brings us to our power rankings.
Yes, I am. So this one was tricky because you could probably convince me to move most of these people pretty far.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I feel like I could be talked out of this power ranking list pretty easily. I still made one, but...
I feel like you do a very good job of justifying your rankings, and sometimes I want to make some changes on the fly. But I will lock my votes in, and I will stick with what I have, even though, like you said, definitely feels like this could be a very fluid list.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start off with number 1, our most liked, and I guess we could argue that this is the best of the worst.
Most decent person available is basically what we're going for, right? Is pretty much what number 1 is. And 12 is like the worst person. So
yes.
My number 1 was Courtney.
Okay. All right.
She seemed, I don't know, in it for the right reasons. I mean, I think she was kind of dumb and naive about a lot of what she was doing, right?
Yeah.
But she also did, she did like put her foot down. Like, okay, that's not that detail before. You had mentioned it. It was 4 a.m. when they get back. Like, dude, we're not getting late at 4 a.m. I don't even care if she's up for it. That's not happening.
Plus, she's been telling you for the last 10 hours that she's dead tired.
Yeah.
What's
forget
wrong
it,
with
man.
you?
That's not happening.
Yeah, I have to say my top 4 could be very interchangeable because I thought about, what really made each one of these 4 different. And I would say that they all kind of in a weird way have the same fault in that they just love the wrong people.
Oh, yeah,
so my
definitely.
number 1 is Karine. Like, she didn't do anything wrong except for love this idiot Paul.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so Karine was my number 2. And mainly because, like, she married the dude.
I know, right?
Courtney didn't agree to marry the guy.
Yeah.
And she did.
Yeah, but poor thing was like a victim of crime and just...
Oh my God, yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, but that really does say something about you. You were a victim of crime and you still took this effort back, Like...
This guy who just ran off into the woods and was like, made like, I guess it's like, you can apologize for that?
Right. Okay, so your number 2 was Karine. My number 2 was Miriam. So once again, I don't think Miriam did a whole lot wrong. She questionably was a little flirtatious. Maybe, I don't want to say little, she was flirtatious, but I mean, friendly too. She was trying to be a good friend, a good host. And if what came out in the tell-all was like actually legitimate and that Patrick knew where they stood, I feel bad that she was in that situation.
Her understanding is that Patrick knew where they stood before they came, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely felt a little bit about that. She's a little bit lower on mine because of that ambiguity, because we don't know who stands where. But I mean, a lot of that came across to me as she's also like super young. Like she was like 23 or something, right?
Yeah.
And it just looked to me like she hadn't quite learned yet. Like she was in the process of learning how to be fun and engaging with people that you're friends with and not be flirty with them. Like she only like, I know how to relate to men through flirting, and that's all I kind of know. And she's like, so I can see where she was kind of, where Patrick, who, is desperately looking for signals, was finding them.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, what about your number 3?
My number 3 was Jenny.
Oh, mine was too. Yeah.
She wasn't much. There wasn't much. We didn't really get to see much of her personality. We didn't really get to see much of, well, that's the other thing too, is we didn't get to see much of what Larry found attractive besides her looks.
Right.
Right.
I think the reason why she was a little bit further down on my list than Karine and Miriam was because I feel like she was a bit hard on Larry, like, and granted, like I would also be equally pissed, but it's like, it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of her letting him really explain himself, but it also could be because Larry doesn't seem like the most communicative person either. He is a man of few words.
Yeah, he is. And I guess the part that got me is a lot of her, I don't know, there was some weirdness going on there with like the Filipino Cupid account and I couldn't delete it and things like that. I was like, I'm not sure. It just seems a little
shady.
suspect. But I mean, she wasn't, but when he got there, she wasn't. And from what we've heard, it's not like she's still really, ridiculously like, not talking to him or anything like that. They talk to each other all the time. It's just a little weird. So that was my number 3. That was both of our number 3s, right?
Yep. Yes.
All right, number 4, I went with Darcey. Okay. Just because, I don't know, Darcey's Darcey. I mean, I feel like, it's just like, I feel like she has, I don't, it's tricky because I don't know how I would have rated her if this was the first time I'd seen her, right? Mm-hmm. But now that I know it, it's like, yes, this is Darcey. Like, she's going to just becoming completely infatuated with whichever guy she's with, and that's gonna just pull her down a rabbit hole, and like and it's all it, but you kind of get the idea that it's a good faith. She's not doing anything she's doing in like bad faith. Like she legitimately at this time wants to be with this guy and think this is the love of her life. She's just like dumb about going about it.
All right, so my number 4 was Courtney, and once again I said my 1 through 4, like, they were all kind of just liked the wrong person. None of them really did anything wrong. I would say the reason why I put Courtney a little bit lower was just because, decision of going to meet this guy in the first place when she had never talked to him on the phone. That's just like dangerous, I feel.
Yeah. It is dangerous. Legit. Yeah. To go there alone and meet somebody. Like, that's dangerous when you would cross town, let alone to a different country.
Sure. Like, you don't know who that is. So questionable decisions all around 1 through 4, but
true.
Even though their intentions were mostly okay. So who is your number 5?
My number 5 was Miriam.
Okay.
I just the same kind of thing. I ranked her just a little bit lower than you because I think she probably either lacked self-awareness or was maybe kind of tricking herself into thinking like, no, he doesn't mean it like that. We're friends, So I think there might have been some signals she was missing as well in terms of leading him on.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 5 was Patrick. So Patrick was positive. I like him as a person. I think the only reason why he wouldn't be farther up for me is the fact that he was plotting to steal someone away from their boyfriend.
Yes. Yeah.
And actively pursuing this person. So I'm sorry, Patrick, that puts you a little bit further down, but not as far down as some of these other people.
Yeah, well, I have people. Yeah, he's a little bit farther down for me.
Yes.
So moving on to number 6. My number 6 was Larry. I mean,
okay, not too far away from mine.
Doesn't have a lot going on for him, but again, he's not malicious. He is out there just trying to keep it together, trying to do what's best. He's out there in good faith, right?
Yeah.
And so, that gives him a lot. The part where he does that Brett thing where I can lock down a Filipino woman and they're stuck with me. Yeah. Like his reasoning for, why he was looking for who he was looking for and what he was looking for. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of, I think you should have spent some more time in therapy and worked on yourself a lot before you decided to bring somebody else into this.
Sure. Okay, so my number 6 was Darcey. I think the reason why Darcey is a little bit lower for me than she was for you was because Darcey is just so thirsty. And it's pretty clear to me that she would throw her own kids under the bus to get to her man, you know? And so just that, I guess we don't really have that many parents on this season.
Larry was a parent.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Larry had those 2 boys, and he asked them before they went. They're like, it's kind of weird you haven't mentioned her before, but all right, whatever, if it makes you happy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Darcey did the opposite. She completely overshared. It's like, these kids don't need to know any of this.
No, I mean, they do. Yeah, it's somewhere in between. They don't need to know, like, the details of, like, they don't need, because I know she's excited about it, and she wants to share things. They don't need to know everybody you're texting and what they said. We said the lovey thing. Like, they don't need that at all.
Right,
but they also don't need something more than, I think I'm going to marry this woman next month. You in?
They're like, who?
Exactly.
All right. How about your number? I'll just go. My number 7 was Larry. So not too much further away from yours. For me, Larry, what kind of knocked him down was, yes, you're right, the self-awareness. kind of going along with the self-awareness, like why he didn't think it was bad that he didn't try the food. And I honestly think what's almost even worse is that he tried the food, but got that one tiny little strand of meat hanging from his mouth and had this disgusted look on his face the entire time. It's like, that was so much worse. Yeah. So that, and then his dumb rant about the incident at the hotel bar. Like, I don't know what she does. You know, like, this is not my custom.
We don't know food. Like, it's like,
God, Larry, no. So yeah, that's why Larry was a little bit lower for me.
Yes, I like boxes flavored like salt. Yeah, that makes sense. So my number 7 is, and this might be different than yours, is Antonio.
Okay.
Because I mean, Antonio's a fuckboy. We established that.
Yes.
That's what he's here for, right? I don't know to which extent he wasn't clear about that. About like what it was that he wanted and what he was trying to get there. Because once she was there, right, and he realized what the situation was, I mean, he didn't handle it great, but if it's like you're kind of stuck with somebody you're not terribly interested in for 3 weeks, like there's only so many great ways you can handle that.
Oh my gosh. Yes, Antonio is definitely further down on my list because he triggers me. But then there were also other specific things that we'll talk about.
Sure,
all right.
Sure.
So number 8, who is your number 8?
My number 8 is Patrick. Because he's a tryhard. He was such a tryhard. And like, I'm going to break myself out of the friend zone using just the energy of my positivity. Like, I'm like,
and my
stop, man. Yeah, and my back. Well, that's the energy of his positivity. That's what he calls his backflips. It's just like, he just struck me as like, you know, those teachers' pets that are like, look at me. Ooh, aren't I so great? I'm like, chill, dude, chill. Right. And especially if he did that super annoying guy thing of reading way too much, thinking every woman that's nice to him is like, oh, she's really into me. Oh, this is going to work out. Like, because she was nice to me. Like, that's not cool either. So, you know, two annoying habits of guys that came into Patrick that made him lower for me.
Sure. Okay, so my number 8 is Jesse.
Okay.
And so, like I had mentioned before, I get it. Jesse's a douche. And trust when I say season whatever 2 that he's on, hate the guy, right? That's when I really cement my hatred towards Jesse. But in this season, I almost forget that he was okay. You know, like he didn't do anything terribly wrong. You can definitely see some things like, you can see that there's manipulation going on. And I can definitely, you know, knowing the future, say that, yes, he's manipulating even us into thinking he's a better person than he is. But when it came down to what he specifically did this season that was terrible, I had a hard time coming up with specific things that he did that was terrible. Now, a lot of things that were like very narcissistic and douchey, like having a picture of himself as a welcome banner on when Darcey first came. But, you know, things like that were just like, normal people wouldn't do that. But, you know, the people that are further down the list, they were actively terrible to me.
Okay. No, I have definitely have actively terrible people. And that's why Jesse is my number 9. Because I think, I mean, just a little bit lower than you because I took a little bit more offense at how full of himself he is. Like, you can say that. Sure. He didn't do anything wrong. He's clearly full of himself. Like,
that's true.
That part is not it gets better, it gets worse. I mean, it probably does get worse. It does get worse as you go along, but it's not like it's unclear that he clearly thinks the best person in Amsterdam maybe
is
the world.
Himself. Yeah. Oh, sure. At least the best energy, at least he'd say.
Yes, and then he did the stupid getting on one knee to not propose. Like,
yes, that is true. That is pretty dumb. All right, so my number 9 is Paul. Okay. So Paul, he annoys me as a person. This guy is the least likely to be one of my friends. At the end of the day, you know, he didn't do anything terrible towards Karine other than force her to take that STD pregnancy test. and I should say maliciously, because obviously the worst thing that happened this season, Karine getting mugged, was a direct result of him just being a bonehead, but, you know, he wasn't the guy who mugged her, you know, he's just the idiot that ran into the woods and left her, you know, unescorted and unprotected, so...
Right.
But then again, let's be real here, is Paul really protecting Karine?
No.
That guy with the machete wants the cell phone. They're getting it.
Yeah, but if he had like a sign, you know how people when people go to Europe, they put the Canadian flag on their backpacks so people don't think they're Americans, right? I feel like if he was in Brazil with an American flag somewhere, the machete guy would be like, that dude might have a gun. I'm not messing with him. American
I don't
guns.
think you can travel with guns.
Yes, but I feel like that's an increasingly common stereotype for Americans is American, they must have a gun. Like that's
We're just toting our guns around
we're
everywhere.
Just toting our guns everywhere, all of us. Yes.
All right. How about your number 10? I think we're at 11.
Yeah, my number 10 was Sean.
Okay.
All right, because Sean was not great, and it kind of gets overshadowed by the situation he was in. But you know, he definitely had that. I hate to say it like this, the white savior complex, right? I'm going to come and save this woman from her poverty that is so hard for her, and look who I am, and had a lot of that, like had a lot of just, you know, trying to manipulate her relationship with Chris, that it's him or it's me, and not just like, you know, not just washing his hands and being like,
I don't disagree with you because Sean is not too far away on my list.
I know. There's not too many left for Sean to be.
Yeah. So number 10 on my list is Antonio. Like I said, I am triggered by Antonio, not because I can really recall dating anyone exactly like him, because I feel like I would know better within a very short amount of time. And the reality is, I think Courtney also would have ditched this guy if he was, you know, if they were in the same town and she could actually escape this guy. She would not have given him another chance. I would have escaped this guy, like, after the first date. Like, self-centered, pretends to conveniently not understand what's going on when asked difficult questions. The fact that he abandoned her like it was no big thing in his apartment, uncomfortable, nowhere else to go. I mean, Courtney could have, you know, gotten a hotel room, but like just leaves her there, like to flee to his mom's house. The fact that he was not considerate of her feelings at all when she first got there, drags her around the city. And then after all of that, feel like, oh, I'm going to get laid. Like, why wouldn't she be all up on this right now? This guy, as much as maybe what he did individually wasn't like a horrible crime against humanity, I fail to see any redeeming qualities he showed at all this season.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I feel like you could say that about a lot of people. Like, he was like, at least, okay, I will give him this. Redeeming quality, it's not really a redeeming quality, but I could see the quality that goes with it, is he did have his charm. Like, and he was charming at times when he wanted to be.
So, like you said about other cast members, like, okay, well, what are the redeeming qualities? At least they cared about their partners.
Yeah. He thought he was on a different show. And that's like,
I don't know what show he thought he was on.
He thought he was on, what is it? Oh man, all I can think of is, like the joke they had on, what was it? I think it was on Arrested Development, where he like kept proposing the same thing, where it was just like an island. It was a fake reality show where it was just basically they put everybody on an island and got them drunk and then just watched them all have sex together. And he called it Fuck Island. Like, I thought he was on Fuck Island.
Maybe, who knows? All right. What about your number 11?
My 11 was Paul.
Okay.
Because Paul, I just think he is such a broken person.
Yes.
He has no business, like, and even at this point, it was pretty clear. He has no business, like, bringing anyone else in on that. That is not what's going to solve his problems.
Exactly. And I feel like he had that one moment of clarity when he ran away and told her, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve
this. Yeah. Like, nobody does. You need to fix yourself first, Paul. And like,
you're right.
But that's what it is. You said, okay, so at least when Antonio left Courtney, he left her in his safe apartment in like a beautiful city in Spain and not like a random place where people are mugging people with machetes. And he just ran away.
True, with the machete
jumped
thing.
into a river. Right?
Yes, that part makes no damn sense. Oh my God, Paul.
It didn't make any sense. I mean, he just, you hate the way he overpacks. I mean, he's everything the ugly American is. Didn't learn its damn word of Portuguese.
Oh God, I know.
Still can't speak any Portuguese. Told his father with sign language he was gonna fuck his daughter.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's not, he doesn't like.
Oh,
I mean, and cause it's things that are funny because he's so dopey that they come across as being funny that they kind of hide the. That's still an like asshole thing. Like, what are you doing?
Still dumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My 11 was Sean, because I agree with you. Sometimes you don't realize how bad he is because Abby is so terrible.
Because of both who our number 12 is. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, it's like there were flashes where I was actually legitimately scared of him. You know, like he did seem like he has a controlling side and trying to give her ultimatums. But then at the end of the day, like he's trying to give her ultimatums. He's trying to control the situation, but he just accepts it anyway.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it, but I can live with it.
So that just makes you a bigger dummy for like trying to set boundaries and be all forceful about it and then like back off when you realize that you're not winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know. It just also seems very like gross to me that she's so young and it's like, what do you really like about her? Except for that she's a dark-skinned woman, as you had said, like at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, at the beginning. I was looking for a dark-skinned woman. I mean, she's objectively an attractive woman.
No, yeah,
she is. She is. I mean, and I get that, but like, yeah, what is it? And she is obviously really good at playing lovey-dovey with older guys.
Oh yeah,
like, she knows
definitely.
She knows how to do that.
I wonder if it's the older guys because they are maybe more financially established and maybe have a lower sex drive, or at least she thinks they do.
I think it's definitely more financially established, right? So we might as well go. Both of our 12 was Abby, so we're talking about that, right? So, like, yes. So more financially established. I don't know if it's the sex drive necessarily, which apparently is supposed to go down at some point, but I think it's the like, it's easy. Like it's like who else anywhere, like, you know, if you're going for like 23-year-old guys, there's probably other hot 20-year-olds that you're competing with. What other hot 20-year-olds are you competing with when you're going for older guys? Like you're going to be able to vote people in way easier. Like it's an easier target.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah. I mean, that's what I said. She's number 12 because she literally just spent the whole season scamming 2 guys at once.
Yes. Okay. Scamming 2 guys, just lying. Like everything she said was a lie. And what makes it even more insulting and worse is she is the worst liar ever.
She really
She can
is.
never like look you directly in the eye. She can't stop laughing. Like when she's lying, it's just like, oh my God, how do these 2 idiots like
she's
fall
just
for
like
anything that you say?
Looking down at her feet, she's like, well, I'll never see Chris again.
I know. It's like, oh my gosh, you are the worst at this. Did they hire you as an actress? Because they should get their money back. You are the worst.
Yeah, she doesn't even come up with like believable stories in her lies. It's so just she's barely even trying. But like, that's what I was saying. I think she's going for low hanging fruit. She just gets, let me get well off single old American guys, maybe even not single, just old American guys, to bring me clothes that I can sell.
God,
like, there we go.
The worst. Yeah. She has a nickname on social media as Scabby Abby, but I believe in real life that she actually got married fairly recently, within the last year, to an age-appropriate person.
Oh, good. I think I saw. Isn't he like German or something though? He's not American.
Oh yeah. I don't think he's American either, but yeah,
right. Well,
but closer in age to her.
We might as well throw off that because we have a couple of groups that never come back again, right?
Yeah.
So Larry and Jenny are still together.
Yes, they are. In fact, they were on
the quarantine episodes.
Like that?
Oh yeah.
They were on, and what now is like a really, really abbreviated version of HEA. So it's like, 15 minutes per couple is like kind of an update. So I think they showed her coming over here and their wedding. And I want to say there was a lot of like trailer park situation happening from what I recall. It was so long ago since I've seen that. Yeah.
That scans.
Yeah, but it seems like they're happy.
Yeah.
And then I want to say that Miriam did eventually come over here for a visit.
Right, which makes sense. I mean, I felt bad for Patrick because, like, it makes sense to visit the States, but, like, I don't know. Doesn't he live in, like, Lexington or something? Like,
yeah, he lives in Kentucky.
Not the most exciting part of the States that people want to visit.
Yeah, but they've both been single, like, at the same time since this is aired, and they both aren't a couple. So yeah. I think it's just one of those things where it's just never going to happen. And I want to say that Patrick has a girlfriend now.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
All right, so that's everybody.
Yes, so we have decided that we will not be covering another classic episode because Hulu just took everything, all 90 Day Fiancé franchise stuff off because it was getting migrated over to Discovery Plus. So if you have Discovery Plus, now you have access to all of the Before the 90 Days and other classic episodes. But Mr. O and I do not have Discovery Plus, and so we do not have access to another classic season. So we're going to take a bit of a break.
That, and in addition, Love After Lockup is coming back before the time that we don't know when in June. It's supposed to be in June.
Right.
But before the time we would have been able to finish another classic season, even if we did have access to it.
Yeah, we were debating. We're like, well, should we do 3 episodes a week? And we're like,
especially because the first week of June the first 2 weeks of June are crazy for us.
Yeah, because we have end of school and AP reading. So yeah, it's one of those things where we were on the fence. We were thinking about it, and then as soon as they made that announcement that it was leaving Hulu, I was like, there's our sign. We're not doing it.
Discovery made the choice for us.
Yeah, which is easy because then we don't feel guilty about it.
All right. So we will be back here next week talking about that new Happily Ever After season, though.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. See you next Monday then.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.